presuppositionalist. That is a big word that took me a long time to even learn how to say it correctly. I think I was explaining this to you before we started the video. I got introduced to this by a friend of mine who took me to a small gathering with a few believers down in Marietta, and he introduced me to a man named Seitan Bruggencate, and he was talking about his apologetics in this group. And so that's how I got introduced to presuppositionalism. I don't know if this is normal, but I don't think I've never ever met anyone who wasn't reformed who was a presup. I think that's pretty common. And then that kind of led me down with a rabbit hole with Jeff Durbin. And then I don't think Douglas Wilson is presup, but I know James White is. And I saw Dr. James White, I think, is a presup as well, and I saw a debate with him and David Silverman, where he did a pretty good job using presuppositionalism, and so that really led me down a whole mess of stuff, and that's how I got introduced to Reformed theology too. But anyways, all that to say is, what is presuppositionalism?
Well, your observation is 100% spot on. I cannot imagine there being an Arminian presuppositionalist. In fact, Cornelius Van Til, the father of presuppositional apologetics, defined it as the Reformed apologetic. He said there's a distinct Reformed way of defending the faith, and he believed that he traced this mode of thinking to Calvin. If we're going to be honest, I would say that's a little bit anachronistic. Calvin was not a presuppositionalist, but based on Calvinist presuppositions, our assumptions, our axioms, what we believe about the Bible, this definitely is the way that makes most sense to defend the faith. So what presuppositionalism is it more or less starts with the fact that nobody's neutral, right? You're either under the headship of Adam or you're under the headship of Christ. And those who are under the headship of Adam are unregenerate. Mm-hmm. They only have the fallen nature, and the fallen nature has to deal with what are called the noetic effects of sin. The noetic effects of sin more or less state that total depravity affects every part of us. So it's not that our minds and our logic is neutral, but our hearts and our morals are tainted by sin. That was the fundamental assumption of classical apologetics back in the Middle Ages, that the logic and reasoning of man is untouched by the fall. It's only our morals. That's not true. Right. The logic of man is just as affected by the fall as our morals. And so because of that, you can't really argue somebody into the kingdom when you are entering into their world and arguing from assumptions and beliefs that already presuppose God doesn't exist, right? So we start with the presupposition that God does exist, and we start really, before we get into evidence, we start at the level of presuppositions. What do you presuppose versus what do we presuppose? And let's test these presuppositions to see which one even makes sense out of the world.